the guest tonight. That's why things were a little disorganized. We should be timely so we don't get into that situation where things are kind of disorganized, right? Okay, well, welcome to the Real Biz Academy's monthly real estate market update, Northern California edition. I hope everybody can hear me. I hope I did not mess up the audio. All right, somebody's need to turn off their. I'm hearing an echo. Who needs to be muted? Are we okay now? Okay, good. Hopefully everybody can hear me. And tonight we're bringing to you the real estate market update for September of 2021. Okay, and we have 4 guests tonight. And the first guest is, I'm hearing myself talking. Okay, if you have your audio on your, if you're playing your video, please turn it off. That way I'm not hearing myself talking. All right, the first guest tonight is Lily Garipova. And Lily will be guest number 1. And second guest is Jhoanna Cruz. And the third is Judie Xue. And the fourth is Kathleen Xiang. And the fifth one, of course, will be myself. Now let's go ahead and get started with guest number 1, Lily Garipova. Hi, Lily. You are muted. Can you unmute yourself? You need to unmute yourself. We're not hearing you. Are we okay now?
I'm unmuted.
Now you're okay. Now I can't hear you. And I'm hearing myself talking. Is your YouTube on? You need to turn it off. Whose YouTube is on? I'm not hearing you talking.
On.
All right, let's move on to Joanna. All right, Joanna, you'll be you and I talking. Are you able to hear me? I cannot hear you. Did you unmute yourself? I'm not able to hear you talk. Yeah, you have also muted yourself. And who else is not muted? Everybody has muted themselves for some reason. Okay, Judy is not muted. I'll go with Judy first.
Hi, Penny. Can you hear me? Hello, Penny. Can you hear me?
Well, I need to find out where you are first. Okay. I can't even see you. I can't see you.
I'm not muted. Can you hear me? I can do. If you can
Okay,
see me.
all right. Let's start with Kathleen first. And I'm hearing myself talking again. All right, Kathleen, why don't you go ahead and
Yeah.
tell us what you're going to present to us today?
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Kathleen with Syntemac Realty, and today I'm going to share with you the market updates in Bay Area, especially East Bay Tri-Valley area. So I can show you some interesting trend. So because there's rumors saying that maybe the market is going up or going down or going slow. So today, after showing you some trends, pictures, numbers, you can have a better idea.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's your first slide.
Yes, this is my first slide. This shows the market trend of the median sale price in 3 traveling cities. For this first slide, you can see all 3 cities are going up, while the other 3 markets in the next slide showing a little bit drop. So for the first one in Sacramento, it shows a 5% raise from the same time last month. The median sale price reached 1.8 million, and in Pleasanton, it still shows a 6% increase, reached at 1.795 million. And for Dublin, it shows a 2.5% increase. Now it is at 1.751 million, somewhere around that. So this is median sale price. You can see for all these 3 markets is still going up. So let's move on to the next slide.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next slide.
As you can see, these are the other 3 markets or cities in Tri-Valley area. They're Livermore, Danville, and Alamo. For all these 3 markets, you can see a little drop. So actually, for the previous 3 markets, it's more like the school districts are excellent. It's more convenient located, and also they're more tends to be more popular area. And for Livermore, it shows a 4% drop at 1.15 million, and Danville showing a 8% drop at 1.9 million.
All
While
right.
the
May I
Alamo,
stop you right there? It looks like all 3 places we're seeing a price decline. What about the days on the market?
the days market, actually the days on market still like mostly are 10 to 14 days, meaning that they will be get into contract within 2 weeks. So the market is still very hot. I have some other numbers to show you in the next slides. Only the median sale price showing a little drop in this 3 months. But you can see during the past 12 months, you can see there's up and downs. So let's keep an eye on that. I'll show you the number next month, and we can find a better trend to see if it's still dropping or it's raised a bit up.
Okay. Next slide.
Next slide. So these are the activities on the market. For Saramon, the inventory is 23, while the sold property is 75, which shows a 0% increase or decrease. It remains the same from the month. And you can see the month supply. Sorry, I covered up one number, but all these top 5 markets are like 0.5, 0.3 to 0.6, which shows a very, very hot. So it's still from the master supplies, from the inventory, the market is still very hot at this moment. Alamo, you can see is 1.1 month, but still it is dropped from 2+ months from the same time last year. So the market is still very hot at this moment. So the sold properties, as you can see, in Pleasanton, it shows a 23% increase, 37% drop. It's partly because the inventories are still very tight or even declining. So the sold properties are limited by the properties available. As far as I understand, the market is still very hot in the Tri Valley area, and we'll keep an eye on it for the next month, and I will follow up with you. Hi, Kenny. That wrapped up my presentation.
All right, thank you, Kathleen. We'll get back to you when we reach the end of the presentation. We're going to give a little conclusion. Now, let's go ahead and see if we can get someone else who I can hear. Let's see here. Who is available? Let's go. Yeah, I can hear. You said Judy talking?
Okay. Yes.
Not Judy talking. Okay, let me go to Judy. Sorry about that. All right, Judy, it's your turn. Why don't you go ahead and tell us what area you specialize in and what you're going to share with us tonight?
Hi, I'm Judy. I'm just a real estate agent with Center Mac in Sacramento area. So today I'm going to do a very quick market update in Sacramento's market right now. But actually, I don't have much to share today because this month um, has not much change compared to last month's numbers. Kenny, okay, this is the month of inventory. This month has 0% change on the inventory compared to July. So the inventory keeps the same. But for myself, I do feel the market cooled down a little bit because less competitions. On Monday, I have 2 offers just got into contract. And surprisingly, one offer, my buyer offers is around 5,000 lower than the listing price. And at first I thought, no, our offer can't be accepted, but somehow the listing agent still accept our offer. Compared to 1 or 2 months ago, I don't think the listing agent will accept or offer lower than the listing price if the listing price is reasonable. Kenny, could you please put on the next slide?
Sure.
The second chart is the average sold price. So we can see there is very slightly decrease on the average sold price. It's only dropped down for less than 1%. I think the accurate number is 0.9% for the average sold price. So for what I look, it pretty much keeps the same like last month. And also next slide is the average days on market. Kenny, could you put the next slide? So we can see there is a slightly increase on the average days on market from 15 days change to 16 days. But for what I look, is not much change. So, but I still have a positive look on the right now's real estate market. I think for the buyers, which are good news, we will have more inventories. And as I know, we can start to evict the not paying tenants on the end of September. Is that true? We can evict the tenants on the end of September because before it was still undecided in California, right?
Well, right now it's still undecided, even though they say September 30th, but I expect it'll be extended further.
Okay, that will be extended further because
Yes.
yesterday what I heard is already they confirmed the date September 30th for eviction to start the eviction process.
Oh, really?
But
Well, pandemic is not over, so I think there'll be most likely there'll be another extension.
well, even there will be an extension, I don't think they will do a very long extension because we already dragged this whole thing for over 6 months, right?
Well, in New York, they're talking about extending it to January of next year.
Wow.
California is also, I think, we're going to see another extension, probably another 2 months until November.
Wow. Feel bad for the for the owners who have not paying tenants.
Exactly.
But
So they should negotiate a settlement with the tenant.
maybe sometimes a buyout plan, but it's without an accurate eviction date, it's going to be very hard to negotiate with the tenants. But in general, I do see more houses on the market and really less competitions. The two offer I accept is both are lower than the listing price this week. And one particular house has reason because it has tenants who live inside and it's going to move out the end of this month. So usually when a owner sell a house with tenant occupied, the the tenants usually not take care of the house very good, including the house condition, the cleaning. But sometimes you can find a really good deal. It's really diamond in the rough. You really need to polish it a little bit and really dig and negotiate with the listing agent. So my client, they got a really good deal. So hopefully they can close on time. And the tenants is the biggest risk. What we worry is the tenants can't move out on time. Pretty much that's all I want to share today.
All right. Thank you, Judy. Let's see who's available because they are both muting themselves. I can't even hear them
I can,
talk.
I can.
Oh, Lily can talk now. Okay, Lily, we'll see if you're able to join us. All right, Lily.
Hi.
Okay, all right. Why don't you go ahead and tell us about yourself, where you specialize, where you do most of your transactions, and what are you going to share with us tonight?
Hi. So I'm a real estate agent here at Center Mac, and I specialize in Northern California, right? Mostly in Bay Area. I specialize in many cities, but specifically, if you ask me about a certain city, yes, I can help you out and give you more information on specific city. Um, yes, my what do I see on the market right now? It's not cooling off. It's not. It's actually worse than in July. So in July it was a little bit slow, right? So and my buyers could get in a contract, and I think these buyers who got in a contract in July, they've been lucky. And right now I can't get anyone in a contract, but like I'm working on it really hard. So I just today I submitted in Belmont for one house, and there were 9 offers, and we put like 300K on top, and we lost.
In Belmont.
So
Is that in
in
Belmont? Okay.
Belmont, yes. So yes, I've seen my clients wanted to submit for one house in Los Gatos. It was a fixer upper. It went from a market like within one day, so we couldn't even submit. So to to tell like in another words, yes, market is picking up. Yes, there is a lot of buyers, and actually most of the buyers are even more activated, right? So why it's happening? Again, interest rate is very low, right? And rent is rising. Rent is gonna rise, and everyone knows it. Inflation, right? And so some of my buyers, they say the rent is rising, and they start moving. So yes, and I was hoping if moratorium will stop and there is more homes gonna come on the market, like more homes will be on the market after renters are moving out and so on. But it's very doubtful that's gonna happen. And if these properties will come on the market, it's still a big shortage, right? It needs to be a big amount of homes in the neighborhood for the buyers to like dissolve like in this shortage of a market. So yes, I still think we're gonna go grow and not go down in prices, and unless the interest rate is gonna go up.
Okay, well,
I can show some graphs.
yeah,
Can I?
of course, yes, 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 some graphs. All right, why
Oh,
don't you go ahead and tell us about your graphs?
that's actually about me. So I just introducing me, but we can go to the next slide.
Yes.
Um,
All right, next slide.
Yes, in San Jose, very interesting market trend right now, right? So the San Jose market is actually becomes even stronger than it was before, right? It would be so let's say in a very short time, I think it would be very unrealistic to get a single family home in San Jose uh, under 1 mil, right? And everyone needs to realize it. We're gonna come in San Jose. San Jose comes very strong. Specifically, if you look what happens today, the price is going only up, and there is still room to grow. So basically, everything which is under 1 mil as a single family in San Jose, one day it's going to be 1 mil, right? And we're going very strongly to this direction. So if we look at the next slide, you could see on my graphs, and we actually talk about specifically single family homes, but I can assure that happens even for townhomes and condos, right? Specifically townhomes in some communities, they've been like up since like a month or 2 months ago. They've been up like 100K, 50K above market value. So yes, and can we go to next slide, please?
Yeah, I want to talk about the median sale price dollar per square foot in San Jose. It is at about seven to about close to $800 per square foot,
Yes,
and that is actually lower than Fremont.
yes,
And
yes.
why do you think that?
Because Fremont has, I mean, I think the San Jose, it just, this is on the whole ratio of the city, right? Like it's San Jose is split on many areas, right? There is East San Jose, there is a northern part of San Jose, there is Blossom Valley. So basically, it's all together, right? But in Fremont specifically, Fremont targeted mostly because of the school district, right? Of course, it's going to be higher in price than San Jose because not all the areas of San Jose, I mean, like have good school districts.
Yes, of course, but in Fremont, the majority, over 80%, have good school district. Is that right?
Yes, yes, and people with families they do target Fremont.
Okay, all right,
And
great.
one specific. Mhm, mhm.
You want to go to the next slide?
Yes.
Okay, next slide.
Yeah, here you can see specifically on the graph, right, what happens in San Jose with single family homes. You can see in July it was a little slow. I mean, like on the prices, what it hit like on the graph it was lower, but right now people list properties and they sell a little bit higher. So on market inventory, we don't see much like it, like added to the market, right? So that's another factor which plays a big role in the prices, right? So yes, I believe the San Jose market has a room to grow. Some neighborhoods already like well above like growth, but I think there is still potential growth in there too.
Okay, all right, next slide.
Yes. Yeah, and that's a little example on San Carlos. San Carlos is a very specific city, right? San Carlos, Belmont. A lots of people want to get in there, want to get a house in there, but it's very, very rare you would see anything listed in San Carlos, right? So, and if it gets listed on average, you will get like multiple offers at any market, right? Like from 10 and above, right? So yes, San Carlos, it's flat. There is nothing to buy, and people actually beat a lot of buyers in San Carlos Belmont area, like in San Jose as well. Um, yeah, we can go to next slide.
Okay,
Oh,
Fremont.
that's actually, yes, it shows Fremont. Yes, recently, I think what actually pushes these prices a little bit, like you see on the median list price went a little bit, but it's a list price, it's not a sale price specifically, right? So Fremont market is still pretty strong, right? And some properties, yes, they went a little bit lower than like in price than in January, right? But we still pretty strong in Fremont in sale prices. So people still bid. There is a lot multiple bids on the properties. I recently got I recently got a property at the market value. So basically, I got in a contract within like 1 day, and the property was in the market just 1 day, and I knew the market value of the property. So I submitted within 1 day, and then after that, so we submitted at 1.3, but I knew the value about 1.6. So after we submitted and my offer got accepted, there were a couple other offers, and people started to bid already at 1.5. It just, well, it was a lot of stress, but I submitted it like within a couple hours, which is insane. But yes, the sellers, they just accepted our offer, and I think it was just lucky, very lucky deal. So yes, there is still opportunities, but as you can see, the property being on the market just like 1 day, and it already got like three offers within 1 day. It shows how much market is strong in Fremont.
Are you still submitting non-contingent offers?
All of my offers non-contingent. I do not even try to contingent, which is insane. I think majority of agents who are listing agents right now, and I am as well, right? Like we expect that. We've been spoiled, and we everyone expects non-contingent. So yes, I do all of my offers non-contingent.
All right, I'll share with you. Recently, I submitted a non-contingent offer on behalf of a buyer in 95132.
Mhm.
And, I had this discussion with the buyer. Buyer is a first time home buyer. So naturally, you need some counseling on the buyers. What kind of counseling do you give your first time home buyers about submitting non contingent offers?
Well, I'm very careful with what I'm doing, specifically with risk management, right? Like for my clients. So I just explain, okay, we have all inspections on hand, and there is nothing potentially can be wrong in the house because everything on hand. We remove inspections. No way to negotiate. I mean, like there is no need to inspect. I mean, to leave inspection contingency. Appraisal. I'm very good at appraising properties, and I actually can at any location, right? Like most likely, I will definitely let you my clients before even submitting. I can estimate the value and at what price it will go, right? And so my clients, they either listen to me or not, and I will say it will appraise at this price 100%, right? If you want to risk, like if you want to put higher price, there is a risk it's not going to appraise at 50K. Can you do it? Can you cover it? They would say yes. And then we would go very brave with a non-contingent on appraisal, right? But I will estimate and let them know correctly. And on my loan side, right, like I always talk to my loan officer, and he will tell me right away. He will tell me these clients will get loan 100%, right? And I will say, can I remove a loan for them? He will say, yes, go ahead. If he has a little doubt, he will say, no, please don't do it until I will, clarify one item. But yes, like every time I go non-contingent, I will talk to my clients about all the potential risks and try to minimize the risk.
Yeah, it seems like, the last 10 offers that you submitted, they have all been non contingent. And
Yes.
that's a pretty good, it says a lot about the kind of confidence you have in submitting non contingent offers. What gave you that confidence?
Well, I do know how to read the reports. I mean, like, I'm very good at reading the reports and noticing very major issues in a house. And I can estimate directly, like, how much some items can cost to my clients. And then if there is like little items, I would say, like, please just don't pay attention to this. Let's move on because there is like 10 buyers submitting for this house, and you have to be, to understand the situation here. So, And in appraisal, again, the valuation, I do very thorough valuation before suggesting any price to my buyer, because I will look at the comparables. I call the other agents, I call pending listings, I call the ones which are supposed to close really soon. I talk to the agents around, right? I make my market analysis very thorough, so I know at the exact price it will possibly will appraise, right? So I never, so far, I never made a mistake on my appraisal valuations.
Okay, well, that's called experience. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next slide.
Yes. Yes, and that's just another graph which shows a median listing price for single family homes, right? So in Fremont, we see the growth. And again, July, people who submitted in July probably been very lucky, all over the Bay Area. So, and market inventory right now in Fremont, it's catching up a little bit. But I would say, like a lot of properties I would see all over Bay Area. Some people, like I will see these spots all over Bay Area in multiple cities. I think people, like agents, they talk to the sellers, and potentially some sellers start moving. And yes, there is some movement and some addition of the listings to the market, but it's still not enough. We're still short. Like the buyers who want to buy,
We got
it's
a
still
question for you. We
yes.
got a question from the audience. Will the pending sales reveal the approximate price it was sold? That's a good question.
Will the pending sales reveal the approximate? I mean, if I don't get the question. I mean, like if the pending sale, basically, yes. If I call the agent and I will ask nicely, so yes, they will. If some agents, they can tell me at what price they pending, and some agents, they don't want to tell it directly, right? And I would say, okay, are you pending above 1.2? And they say like, yes, we pend about 1.2. And they said, do you pend below 1.3? They would say, yes, we pend below 1.3. That's why I kind of estimated what price they will close.
Okay, well, if you ask more questions, you get more information from the listing agent. That's usually the case.
Yes, yes,
All right,
yeah, mhm.
you want to go to the next slide?
Yes. I don't know what specific slide
Well,
is
that
that,
was
but
a
yes.
good question by Bala, though, because oftentimes we see a property went into pending, and then we also look at the listing price. Looking at the listing price, we can kind of figure out, okay, if it went into pending very quickly and the price is much below the market value, they use the bidding war strategy, and the final price is going to be much higher, especially if it went into pending so quickly, right?
Yes, always, always. If it went to pending, I mean, not specifically always. Actually, that's it depends, right? Like you always, the market is very un, 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 unspecific, right? It depends on the agent who is listing. It depends if the agent is, I mean, like knows the market very well. Some agents, they have like the only transaction in a year, right? They put the listing on the market and they have no idea what happens on the market, literally. And then, like, if you're really fast, if they open to preemptive, you can catch a really good deal. But it happens very rare, right? So if, and you know what, telling about the prices, which is absolutely insane. I recently went with my clients to see a home in Campbell. It was actually maybe early August, and it was priced at 2.1. And you know at what price it closed? I actually told them like, oh, they probably gonna have multiple bids, and they probably will hit 2.5.
Okay,
And
what
it
you
was my valuation 2.5, correct? So like, and usually because you estimate all the area and all the homes in the neighborhood closed at 2.5, right? 2.6 maybe, some of them. And I just recently saw at what price it closed, and it closed at 3 mil,
oh
right? So it, which is insane. And I looked at
yeah.
it, and it has no comparables supporting it, which is
Oh,
absolutely insane. And market right now is very unpredictable, right? Like I would protect my buyers, but some of the buyers come so strong and they just overprice every rational buyer, and it still happens sometimes, right? And I it's very surprising actually, but yes.
Yeah.
Some people have cash, and I would say lots of people have cash. And 1 mil in Bay Area right now, it's 1 mil. It's just like probably you think it's like 100K back then, right? 1 mil is very like everyone majority of people have cash, I would say.
All right, next slide. Are we down to the last slide or we have more?
Yes, and that's just to make fun of a little bit. So basically, when my clients come to the listing, I actually try not to, like I would ask them, don't show your excitement, right? Like, don't be like super happy about the listing because, like as soon as, because, some listing agents right now, if they have a beautiful listing, they know they will have a lot of competition, but we just try to be quiet and don't show that we really, really like it and then submit.
Good idea, good idea. Okay, thank you so much, Lily, for a wonderful presentation. When we reach our end of the presentation, we'll share some opinions on the current market. Now, let's move on to our last speaker. Well, second to last, because I'm the last one. Second to last speaker for tonight is Jhoanna Cruz. I hope, oh, she disappeared. Joanna, where are you? I think she probably is going to come back and join us later on. I think she was having issue with her. Uh, all right, I'll come back to Joanna. I'm gonna go to my presentation. Joanna, I hope you can come back and join us. All right, let me do my presentation. All right, last couple of years, I sold a few homes in the Bay Area. 94005, if you know where that is close to the San Francisco International Airport in the Brisbane area. The market was already pretty good at the time I sold my home, and it was hot then, and it's still pretty hot. You can see the listing price, sale price versus listing price is about 109%. So pretty much you have to add some more money to the listing price if you want to get the property. And the median price is about 1.35 in that area. The number of days, and you're looking at about 12 days as the median days on the market. Not a lot of new listings in the area. As you know, that is a small town. Okay, now let's look at the next one. The next one we have, all right, that's Joanna. I see. I hope Joanna is back. Okay. Well, I gotta finish my. Okay, Joanna's back. All right. But Joanna, you gotta wait. I'm gonna finish mine, and then it's your turn. Okay. All right. And this one here, the next one, it is actually 95132. Okay. Well, I mentioned 95132 because the offer that I placed on behalf of a buyer recently was in 95132. It's a single family residence. I tell you about this amazing story. In this market, it's almost impossible to get one that is below market value. So, when we put in the offer, the listing price was around, it was, I think it was 1.125. So we placed an offer for 1.15. No, actually, it's a lot less than that. It was 1.075 or something. And then our offer was like 1.15. Ultimately, we settled for 1.175, and that was the price it was sold for. What's amazing about this one is that the price that we got, it's a lot less than the market price. The market price in the area is about 1.4. So you might ask, well, Kenny, how is it that you're able to get such a low price? Luck, I would guess, and also the house has some things that some buyers don't like, and I want to share with you. That house was in a flood zone. Apparently, that sort of scared some buyers away. But so what if it's in a flood zone? You just go ahead and get the flood insurance, right? So you don't worry about it. It is in a flood zone. So if you are able to accept that it's okay to buy a home in a flood zone, you can really get deal in this market. So sometimes, you just happen to have the right opportunity, and there were only like two or three people competing with us, and we were lucky. We were just competing against one other buyer. There was really nothing wrong with the house, and of course we have the inspection report. We look at the inspection report; it's pretty normal. I mean, for a house as old as this one, you're gonna have a lot of uh, needed repairs, some minor repairs here and there on the electricals and on the plumbing. But overall, it was a great steal because appraisal came back. You wouldn't imagine, you couldn't imagine what the appraised value was. I think it was like 1.3 something, and our price was 1.175. So at first we thought that, hey, you know what, you know, if it doesn't appraise, we better have some reserve ready. So it turns out, not only do we not need the reserve, we got a steal. That was a wonderful steal because right after we closed escrow, I think it was 2 days after we closed escrow, I got a phone call from a local agent say, "Hey, Kenny, how did you do it? The houses here sell for 1.4. How did you get it to 1.175?" I told her, I said, "I don't know. Maybe people are scared of houses being in the flood zone, but I honestly don't think that that is a deal killer." And so we got this one. Really, really good steal, I would say. As you can see in 95132, the overbid is like 11%. Okay, that's still pretty high. Okay, and the median sale price for single family home in 95132. Of course, if you don't know where 95132 is, that's a San Jose area, decent school district. The school district is actually pretty good. Okay, so 1.44. Okay, we got out 1.175. That's great. And the days on the market is still very short. It's only 8 days on the market. Okay, the median days on the market. So that is still a very hot area. Okay, we were just so happy that there were not a lot of competition for whatever reason, but we got this one. So really, really happy for our buyer. Okay, all right. Now if you look at the now versus sold inventory, is not doing much better. The volume kind of went up a little bit. Okay, so sold is 29, the new one is 32. So there are more homes that came onto the market. So that's really good news. All right, look at the next slide. Now this one is 94070. This is San Carlos. Last year I sold a home in San Carlos. It was a fixer upper. When we listed it as a fixer upper because the property was really dated. There's a lot of work. And my client really, really did not have any money at all to do any kind of improvement, any kind of updating. So I got no choice. The house was so dated. At first, we listed it at 2.4. Ultimately, we have to get rid of it at 2.1. And it's got to be worth about 2.8 today because at that time, at 2.1, it was a fixer upper. So before we settled for 2.1, there were a couple of fixer upper investors who approached me wanting to buy this thing for, well, at first one guy placed an offer for 2.3, but he backed out. He felt that it was too expensive because for the house, if you want to fix it up nicely, it's probably going to cost about close to 250,000. So if he gets it for 2.3, he doesn't have a lot of margin because he would have to sell it for 2.8. But back then, uh, we did not have a crystal ball. So it was, my estimate was 2.6 at that time, but today it's got to be worth about close to 3 million by today's standard. Okay. So price has gone up a lot in 94070. You just look at the ratio, 113%. So the median sale price in San Carlos is right now about 2.5, and the days on the market is about 8 days. All very short days on the market. And looking at the new ones, the new homes, the new listings is can't keep up with the properties that are sold. So inventory is going to be tight again in San Carlos. All right, that concludes my presentation for tonight. Now let's move on to the next guest, and let's see if I can find Jhoanna Cruz. Joanna, hopefully you're back and you're able to speak right now. All right, Joanna, I hope you're not muted. It looks like you're still muted. Somehow you're still muted. uh, Sometimes the way to fix the problem is for you to exit and come back. So what you can do is, I know you did not mute yourself. Okay. All right. So why don't you do this? Exit and then rejoin us. I think that would be a quicker way to fix this problem. Because right now I don't know how to fix your problem. Okay. All right. Now we're waiting for Joanna. Let's go ahead and move back into our. She's back. All right. Good, Joanna. Hopefully this time you're okay. All right. Say something. No? You're muted yourself. Some reason it says you're muted. Okay, well, let's see here. Yeah, I can't do anything about that because it keeps saying you muted yourself. Okay, because I did not mute you. You say the guest has muted yourself. I'm sure it has nothing to do with you. It has to do with the system. All right. I would suggest you exit and rejoin again for one last time, and then we're gonna move on to the conclusion. Okay. All right. Now let's move on to the original screen. Things are not working great tonight. I think you're okay now, Joanna. It says you muted yourself again. Okay, don't worry, don't worry. You know, it happens. Things like that happen, so don't worry about it. All right, let me bring everybody back. Okay. Some reason. Hold on a second. All right. Okay. Now we're back in where we started. Okay. Now I want to share with you. I think there are certain things about certain types of homes that don't appeal to buyers. I just shared with you one such home. Flood zone. You might be able to find less competition if the house is in a flood zone. Okay. Now, let me see if I can ask the experts a few questions. I will share with you, I frankly do not think the moratorium is going to end on September 30th. I'll be surprised if it ends on September 30th, so be prepared that it will drag on much longer. We're not over yet, okay? I think as we get closer, there's a great chance that we'll see another extension. So don't be too happy if you're a landlord at the moment, okay? Recently did an eviction trial. I did this one even though I retired, but I did that one because it was my own listing, helping my landlord, my seller, resolve the tenant issue. I'll tell you, I don't know the result yet. I have not received anything from the court yet. When I receive, I'll share with you guys the next time. So what happened at trial? We offered a settlement to the tenant. So as you know, right now there's a government program. It's called the rental relief assistance or rental assistance. The landlord can work with the tenant to apply to the to apply for rental assistance. But if the tenant does it himself without the landlord's participation, maximum they can get is 25%. Whereas if the landlord does it without the tenant's participation, the landlord runs into another problem. The reason is that if the tenant does not cooperate, the landlord does not have the proper documentation to get the money because they will need the tenant's tax returns. Okay, so at the trial, just before the trial started, we spent about 30 minutes talking to the tenant and offer a settlement. So what we did was we offer to pay the tenant money. We offer $3,000. It's cash for keys. And the tenant was supposed to move out September 30th. And then we also offer to give the tenant additional incentive. The incentive was if the tenant jointly apply for the fund with the landlord, whatever money that we get will apply to the past owed rent. However, the landlord was willing to give the tenant even more incentive. If the landlord gets more than 80% of the money toward the total rent that is owed, we're willing to give 20%. That is in excess of the 80% to the tenant. We offered that to the tenant. The tenant said no. What the tenant wanted was, they wanted us to forgive the rent 100%. Of course, my landlord was not willing to do that. Even the government is not willing to say, yeah, the tenant's rents are waived. So in the end, there was no settlement. We actually went to trial. And I will share one thing with you though. You know, during the pandemic, you cannot evict the tenant for non-payment of rent. However, you can evict the tenant if you want to get out of the rental market. You want to withdraw the property from the rental market. You can also end the tenancy if you yourself or your relatives want to move on to the property. That is the second reason. The third reason has to do with the sale of the property, and you have already found a buyer. Okay. And not only must you have found a buyer, you must have entered into a purchase contract with the buyer. When we gave them our 60-day notice, it wasn't based on non-payment of rent. The box that we checked was withdrawal from the rental market. So at that time, I thought, well, isn't the sale of your home a withdrawal of the property from the rental market? But then somebody else told me, say, hey, you know, you can't because withdrawal doesn't mean you sell your home, because there is a third category. If you sell your home, you must have received a signed offer before you can use that as a reason for evicting your tenant. So at the time of the trial, I was so happy that the judge did not ask us. The judge did not ask, why are you withdrawing from the market? The judge didn't ask, because if had the judge ask, it would have been a tough situation, because at first we put the for sale sign at the property. I mean, if the tenant was smart, the tenant would have argued to the judge, hey, Your Honor, there was a for sale sign in front of the house. That did not come out at trial because the judge had no idea. The judge didn't even ask. The judge basically asked my client one question. After you withdraw it from the market, do you still plan to rent it? Obviously, my client is going to say, no, I don't plan to rent it. We totally avoid that issue about sale of the property, because if he had mentioned about the sale of property without a signed offer, we would have been in a lot of trouble. Okay, so that's what I want to share with you. I don't think moratorium is over yet, but if you're able to find a relative or yourself want to move in there, that is a good reason to end the tenancy. For example, if you have two properties, one of them you currently live in, and the other one is rented to this tenant, right? There is no law that says you can't decide to move from your present residence into the rental, kick the tenant out and move in the rental, and then your primary residence, you use it as a rental instead. There's no law that says you can't do that. In fact, you can do that. Unlike San Francisco rent control, in San Francisco rent control, you can't do that. You cannot move from your primary residence into the rental and then rent out your primary residence. San Francisco, you can't do that. But under this law, there is no restriction. So that is a thought. If you have a landlord who has more than one properties, they basically just swap. One of them, the primary residence become a rental, and then the rental becomes the primary residence. Okay, that's all I need to say. And Lily,
Thanks.
all right, why don't you give us an outlook for the next 6 months for the Bay Area housing market? I can't hear you. You muted yourself again for whatever reason. Everybody
Well,
muted. Okay, I can hear you now. Good.
yeah, that's a tough question to reply to, right? Like, what the what's the prognosis for like 6 months ahead, right? I don't know. I think nobody knows. Nobody knew how it's gonna turn during COVID, at the beginning of COVID, and I just would say I know that I think Fed's meeting at October, right, to give the to think about if they will raise the rate or not. I think if they will raise the rate on loans, right, then we will see probably a little drawback in prices, but it's not going to be big because all these prices on a in real estate in Bay Area, they already fixated, right? So basically, if the interest rate will go up, there is going to be only a small percentage of people who will drop from this market, right? So because some of the clients whom I have, they say, we don't care what the rate's going to be. We just care how much money we'll get from a bank. They don't care if the rate is going to be 4, if the rate is going to be 3, right? They just care how much they can get for the loan. So, and majority of people think this way. So a little percentage of buyers will stop buying because for them on a mortgage bills, like even $200 a month, it will make a big difference, right? So, and that will make less competition on the market, but it's still going to be competition. Some people still will bid. And so in this, like, probably will make the market not go down, right? But it's just gonna correct, like people not gonna overbid like right now if the rate is gonna go up. That's just my thinking. But if the rate is gonna stay the same, which is going to keep growing. I mean, like we just keep growing to the direction only up, right?
Yeah.
And the other scenario which I would see, if the properties which are rented with moratorium, more properties will come on the market. That's what people expect, right? It's gonna have a little effect as well. We're not gonna grow as fast, and it will give like let's say like there's going to be 10 homes on a neighborhood instead of 2. That will make a big difference, but it doesn't mean the price is going to drop. It just we're not going to see bids like insane, right?
Yeah.
They will be maybe like today I submitted literally 300K above asking price, right? And we lost. So right, and it doesn't so honestly, I don't know what happens next, but a couple scenarios I would assume.
Okay, all right. Thanks for your opinion. Joanna, if I can hear you, it's your turn to express your opinion. Okay, looks like we're still having technical difficulty with Joanna. That's okay. That's okay. We excuse you tonight. Now let's go to Judy. What's your outlook for the next 6 months in Sacramento? Same thing. You're muted. Everybody's muted for whatever reason. I don't know what happened. Okay. You shouldn't be though. You're not muted. I think it's your audio. Oh, you muted yourself. Okay. All right, let's go to Kathleen. What's your outlook for the next 6 months in Pleasanton, in the Tri
Can you hear
Valley?
me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I think the market is still very hot in the Tri Valley area, and but I think we can see as the COVID stabilized or everybody's life has been back to kind of normal life, we can see more trend of the seasonality in this market. I think during holidays and people is traveling a little bit, so maybe we can see some seasonality factors in the next 6 months.
All right. Thank you, Kathleen. I'm going to answer Bala's question. He said, in this scenario, how many years can we put it back into the rental market? All right. That is actually a good question because once you decide to withdraw it from the rental market, at the time you made that intention, well, you made that decision, you must have no intention of putting back on the market. That's the purpose of it. If you intend to put it back in the market in a short period of time after you withdraw it from the market, you may face a lawsuit by the tenant. So there is no definite answer for that. Okay. Now let's say you withdraw it from the rental market, and then you put it back 10 years from now. Okay, that is, it is harder to prove you have bad intention at the time you withdraw from the market. It's quite possible at the time you decide to withdraw it, you did intend to withdraw it. So the longer it takes you to put it back on the market, the better it is. There is no definite answer for that. Okay. Well, let's see who else has answered. Yeah. I only say it because for my listing anyway, uh, we were all prepared because the daughter was there to testify. The other property, my client actually had three properties: the one rental, the one that is owned by the daughter. Actually, the daughter lives there and it's owned by the daughter. And then the third one, they themselves live in that third one. So uh, we were prepared to tell the judge if the judge was going to ask us, you know, if we were confronted with a question. Well, first you wanted to sell. If you wanted to sell, I may not let you evict the tenant unless you have an offer accepted. So we were kind of prepared for that. So we had the daughter comes in. Daughter was prepared to say, I was planning to sell my house. Okay. But they need to do renovation before I could put the house on the market. So I need a place to stay if they do renovation. I don't know how that's going to fly in front of the judge, but that was what the daughter was prepared to say. The daughter was going to move in there. Okay. So, in fact, I think the judge I can't remember. I think it did come out because the judge did ask him, okay, why did you want to withdraw it from the market? And then he said, our daughter want to move in. Okay. Because prior to that trial, he had friends that testified that they wanted to sell the house. Apparently, they lost the case. So, it was, I don't know how it's going to come out. I'm waiting for the result right now and see what happens. It wasn't an easy eviction, I tell you. Okay. All right, let's see
So
who
that
else.
means Yeah, does that mean if we present an offer, like lower offer with tenants in it, and it has better chance to get accepted, to
Yeah,
help them to
usually when
evict the...
when you have a tenant occupied property, you can get a good deal. It's definitely because less buyers will come and compete. You're gonna get a better deal with the tenants
And
occupied. Okay.
yeah, is it for sure that we can evict the tenant after we get the offer accepted, though?
Well, if you want to move in, of course, for sure.
Okay. Yeah.
Because if it's not based on, if you're a buyer, right? If you're a
Yeah.
buyer, you're not
Mhm.
using it as a rental, you want to move in,
Mhm.
this is one of the exceptions you can use. So if you have a buyer who's willing to put up with the tenant, they can get a deal. Even in this hot market, they can get deals. So look for properties that are tenant occupied. You have a better chance, okay,
Right.
of getting into the home that you like without paying a lot of money. Okay, now let's see who has question. Jean Riley has a question. Okay, what does she say? Jean, I can't read your question. It says, if the tenant is on the month-to-month rent, can we give tenants 60 days notice to terminate when the client wants to sell? That's exactly what I said. The answer is no. You cannot serve any notice until you have an accepted offer in hand. Then you can give the notice. Technically, that's when you're supposed to. You cannot say, "Oh, okay, I give 60-day notice now. Now I start marketing the property, okay, and then I get an accepted offer." So when you go to trial, you go talk to the judge. The judge may ask you, at the time you serve the 60-day notice, did you already have an accepted offer? Uh, my feeling is that at the time you gave the 60-day notice and you didn't even have an accepted offer, and if your reason is based on sale of property, that would not be a valid 60-day notice, and you will probably lose the trial. Uh, that's my. I mean, if we win this trial, I think you'll be. I would consider ourselves lucky. How I can say. Okay. All right. If there are no more questions, and I thank you everybody for showing up. We had really good attendance today. 30 plus people showed up. I hope I was able to share with you some valuable information. Okay. If you want my take on the outlook on the market, I would say that places like Sacramento, it's still pretty hot, but not as hot as before. Okay. It's still hot, but not as hot as before. In fact, we got agents calling follow up on showings. After a showing, they'll call you. Let me ask you this, Lily. Lately in the Bay Area, after showing, are you the one following up with the listing agent, or the listing agent the one following up with you?
Me, always me. Lately, yes. In July, I noticed some people have been following me, but right
Yeah.
now I'm.
Okay. All right. So looks like everybody is ready to call it quit. And I thank you everybody that is in the chat room, and thank you for all the guests. I am so sorry, Joanna. I don't know what happened, and I don't know how to fix that. Hopefully, we have better luck next time. Today wasn't a good day. Okay, so if you still like today's program, please give us a thumbs up. If you don't like the today's program, I promise you, next time we'll be more prepared. Next time I'll have the guests get ready half an hour before, so they'll be more prepared. We wouldn't have any glitches like this. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, all the guests, and everybody did a great job. Okay. We love to share information like this. And 2 weeks from now, we're gonna have our Southern California edition of the market update. I will see you guys then. Okay, all right. Let me go ahead and turn this off.